Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to next item, roll call, Jason.
Sarah Sarda is absent tonight. Terry Crandall.
Here.
Kathy Greenaway is joined by teleconference. Kathy, can you hear us? We'll come back to Kathy. Franny Kiefer.
Here.
Jill Sternquist.
Here. Quorum has been determined. Next item is approval of agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call, Jason.
Kiefer.
Yes.
Crandall.
Yes.
Greenaway. Matt, you want to check her audio on that? And Sternquist.
Yes. Next item is approval of minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of the October 11th regular school board meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Jason.
Crandall.
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes.
Greenaway, can you hear us? Sternquist.
Yes. Next is conflict of interest. Does anybody have any direct or indirect conflicts they'd like to disclose? Next item is the consent agenda.
Make a motion to present the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Jason.
Kiefer.
Yes.
Crandall.
Yes.
Do we have Greenaway yet? No. Not yet. And Sternquist.
Yes. Next is public comment. We did have 2 people sign up for public comment for agenda number 9, so we'll have them speak at agenda number 9. Next, we have good news and student achievement. Mrs. Davis and Mr. Clemish.
I'm Allie Davison, elementary tech integrationist, filling in for Nicole as she could not be here tonight. One of our good news from the tech and curriculum side is the in-service that took place on October 22nd. This was hosted as an ed camp style, so teachers and other staff members could join sessions that were relevant to their needs. And this allowed for time to collaborate with other colleagues, as well as time to work on the specific tech tool. Along those lines, we've got Promethean boards coming next week as a good news item for elementary teachers. They are very excited, and part of the in-service on October 22nd was some training from a Promethean trainer there. That's what I've got.
Good evening, Jerome Clemish, Director of Student Services. We were just wanted to give the board an update on a program that we're looking at district-wide in all 6 of our schools called the Special Olympics Unified Champion Schools Program. As you can see with the picture up there, it shows mainly high school or older students, but it is a elementary, middle school, and high school program, like I said, at all 6 of our buildings. This program is aimed at promoting social inclusion for special education students through specific, intentionally planned activities, and the whole goal is to get kids included, whether it's in a PE classroom or socially at recess, inside or outside of school. Their whole goal is to be treated, the golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated. The 3 components of this program is inclusive youth leadership, whether you're in special education or regular education. It's a chance for you to become an agent for change in your school and to promote inclusion. There's also what we call whole school engagement, where we want these programs and special awareness days to be promoted throughout the program. Okay. Thank you. And finally, the last section is called Unified Sports, and we have a great Special Olympics program in town already. Many of our kids, elementary, middle school, and high school, participate in unified sports, and it's a super thing that goes on. We've hosted many state tournaments. We've hosted many different programs at the state level here in Yankton. We've had great participation. The outcomes of this program, and by the way, we've already met with Julie Briggs. She's the Vice President of Outreach with the Special Olympics. She's came to Yankton once. She's going to be coming back in December to meet with their counselors and to see if we can get this program off the ground. But the outcomes, as some of the outcomes listed, promoting inclusive friendships that carry on outside of school as well as within the walls of the school. I remember on occasions when parents would come to me, special ed parents, and how excited they were that their children were invited to a birthday party, or maybe they were invited to something happening outside of school, but sometimes they were nervous, wanted it to go well. And on the flip side, we would also have parents who invited special ed kids to maybe a birthday party or a play date, and they were nervous also. And sometimes they'd call the school. We'd figure out ways how to make it a good time. And most of the time, the special ed kids were the life of the party. Some other things that this program outcomes is to decrease harmful language in schools, in the community, and create communities of caring and respect. And overall, to overturn negative attitudes towards students with disabilities. Some sample activities that the Special Olympics Unified Champion School, they give each of the levels, whether it's elementary, middle school, or high school, a playbook, and then you create a team within your school that carries out these. Most of what we're going to try to do this year are going to be district-wide activities, and I'm not saying we're doing all of these on this list, but some of the things that we want to try to do or work towards over time include special ed and regular ed learning together in PE. We're already doing a lot of these things, so it's a natural fit, this program. Some other things would be avoiding the elimination of certain games where you're out, or picking teams in front of other kids. Those are things that we want to not do. Some sample activities or awareness days we have that we're looking at, called the Say Hi, I'm your classmate Awareness Day, Disability Awareness Week, Recess Campaign, Ask Someone to Play, Mix It Up on Lunch Days, and Recess Buddies. All right, slide 2. Did you already get to that? Maybe you're on 3. There you go. Here's one that I really think we need to participate. It's called the R Word campaign. Spread the word to end the word. That is held in March, and we want, instead of the R word that's often used in whether it's social media or kids, we want the R word to be respect, and teach our kids that, because I think that's important. Other days that we're looking at are Dare to be Different and Fans in the Stand for our local Special Olympic competition and participants. Sometimes schools will have a little pep rally for our kids that are going off to Special Olympics and participating, and also attending their games, cheering for them, making banners, making it an exciting event for them. Slide 3. I'll close. Like I said, many of these things we've been doing this for a few years. At one of our elementary schools, we're looking at expanding throughout the district. We're looking at 12 days where the school district will celebrate Disability Awareness Days. And thank you, Mr. Lucas, for getting these together. But these are all disabilities that are represented within our school district. And so we're going to have some days where you'll dress in a certain color. And the most important thing is he's created some videos and learning experiences for our kids so that they can learn about some of the disabilities of their classmates right in their schools that they're with at all times. Okay? Once again, thank you, Mr. Lucas, for putting that out. Any questions, school board? All right, thank you. Oh,
No, thank you.
yep, thank you.
Next, we have School Finance 101. Mr. Beats.
Okay, tonight I have for you just a very brief report on a lien that's been filed on the track project, and it involves a subcontractor for the subsurface portion of the contract. And state law requires that when a lien is filed on public property or public assets, that the business manager advise the school board of such lien. So as it stands right now, the work is complete on the track, and if you have a chance to drive by or notice everything is finished, the finished surface is on, the painting, the striping is on, everything's done on the track. So we're really happy that that happened before the winter weather. However, the issue at hand is actually between a subcontractor and the general contractor, and it really doesn't even involve the Yankton project. It involves some other work that they've done on other jobs together. However, because we still had 2% retainage on the project, they have filed the lien against those dollars to put them at hold, basically in a hold status at this point. So the purpose is, state law does require the business manager to advise the school board of such lien, and at such point in time, as that's resolved, then we'll release the funds. And of course, this does not affect our financials in any way, shape, or form. It won't cost us any more money. It's basically just holding the funds until the legal process works its way out. So that's my report this evening.
Thank you. Next, we have a parent
Sorry,
presentation.
one quick question, a minute. Jason, the FEMA dollars how is that coming along with this project?
It's moving.
Okay.
Right now, we're in an appeal status,
Okay.
and so we have received a determination on the funding, and they have reduced the funding to the level that they feel is appropriate given the insurance issues and questions that have, dispute, I guess, if you want to call it that, and then as well as the process has gone on for 2 years, as you're well aware, through the Building and Grounds Committee and process. But as it stands right now, we are appealing the adverse determination on the funding reduction with FEMA, and we'll be pursuing that through the appropriate channels and following the process. We have 60 days to appeal, and we're hopeful that we'll have a successful outcome from the appeal.
Okay, thank you for the update.
Anyone else have any questions? Next, we have a parent presentation by Stacy Nichols.
My name is Stacy Nichols, and I have 3 children who attend the Yankton School District. I'm a familiar face, as this is my 3rd time I have spoke on the masking issue. The first time was back in fall of 2020. That was before many of us were educated on the ineffectiveness and the adverse consequences these masks are having on our children. During the last mask meeting in August of this year, we listened to 2 hours of testimony from parents and community members. 85% of them were asking for parents' choice when it comes to masking. After 2 hours of testimony, with no discussion, a pre-planned motion was read to mask our students from 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. while they are in school. You voted, You answered no further questions from the audience, and you got up and left. We were all shocked, to say the least. One of the rights our Constitution lays out for us is the right to petition the governmental bodies, so that is what we have done. It is very interesting, however, how many people that said they were in total agreement but could not sign the form because they worked for the school, worked for the hospital, owned a business in town, or didn't want their children to be targeted. It's sad that the people are afraid of the school board and the administration, and they feel like they cannot even speak up. I've had so many people contact me thanking me for being courageous enough to do this. I don't see it as being courageous. I see it as standing for truth and standing for our children and the parents and their rights that are being violated. It is not the school board's responsibility to make decisions for my child's health. It is the parents' responsibility. The responsibility of the school board is to make decisions about their education and our school district. We have a petition that's in front of you with over 700 signatures. The petition reads as follows. Pursuant to the First Amendment, the right of the people to petition the government for redress of grievances, we, the undersigned parents and citizens within the Yankton Public School District in the town of Yankton, South Dakota, hereby petition the Yankton Public School Board to adopt the following provisions pertaining to the removal of the mask mandate. A, the use of face covering shall be optional for all students at the sole discretion of their parents or guardian. B, the use of face covering shall be optional for any employees and visitors at the school district facilities and attending school-sanctioned events. We are not trying to change what other people choose to do. We just want a choice. During this entire journey mask recommendations have been followed from the health board. How did these people become our health board? How did these people come to our health board to make so many decisions for our children and community? Can someone on the health board describe the size of a virus? Can someone then describe the size of the pores in the masks that are being forced on our children? Can the health board then explain why the boxes of masks point out specifically that these masks do not prevent against COVID or any other flu virus? Why are these questions being ignored? We, the people, want this mask mandate on our children removed immediately, or we will seek recourse. Thank you.
Next I have Travis Arns, if you'd come to the.
Hi. I was denied getting on the agenda to speak at last month's school board meeting with concerns about masking special education students and how it impedes their ability to learn. My son has autism and is nonverbal. This is a quote from his IEP, How Autism Affects His Involvement and Progress in the General Education Curriculum, written by his skilled teachers. Owen is lagging behind in his average peers in general knowledge, personal social skills, adaptive skills, fine motor, and language skills. The disability makes it difficult for him to complete tasks during circle time and attend to tasks during centers. It is also hard for him to communicate his wants and needs and form friendship, end quote. He needs to see his teachers' faces and learn these skills. Forcing teachers to wear masks impedes his ability to learn. One of his IEP goals is to imitate gestures, sounds, and words. Imagine trying to teach your child their first word with a mask on. How would you continue to work on that goal if faces are covered and words are muffled by a mask? Another skill to learn on my son's IEP is to discriminate between familiar and unfamiliar people. How will he discriminate between his teachers and therapists at school if all but their eyes and hair are covered with a mask? Please talk to the special education teachers at Stewart Elementary. They work with these kids every day. They are the experts, and they should be given the option to make the right decisions for each individual child. This is why an IEP exists. By not reaching out to the teachers and not discussing among each other, you're disrespecting my son. He is innocent. He has done nothing wrong. It is impossible for him to intentionally offend you. Your actions will have an immense effect on his life and learning. Your goal with masks was to keep the schools open. Yet when it comes to extracurricular activities, the students are allowed to participate without masks, and the spectators are allowed to sit next to each other without masks. The athletic director said people could spread out at these events. However, I see the student section on top of each other. Having these events is helping spread the virus. If you are in favor of masking during school, then you should be in favor of canceling sports. My son is being discriminated against by the current masking policy since it allows kids in sports to go maskless and reach their full potential. But yet the mask mandate does not allow my son to reach his full potential in his goals at school. Most people really don't care about special needs students unless they know or have a family member that has special needs. His teachers care, his mother cares. Please show you care and talk to the special education teachers. I invite you, the board, to ask me questions now and after the meeting. Do you have any questions?
Have you had any meetings with the IEP teacher or his teacher talking about alternative options?
I will be setting up an IEP meeting soon. We have talked about it in our last IEP meeting, which was probably a good 4 months ago, about his school schedule, but this is something I need to talk to them about too. But I have been told by Dr. Kendall and Mr. Klimish that I should have an IEP meeting, and that if they're still going to follow the rules of the mask mandate, which will get me nowhere. That's pretty much why I'm here. But I will be scheduling an IEP meeting this month.
Thank you. And then I have Richard Baum.
I am Richard Baim, a father of 5 school-age children. I'm here to represent not only them, but all the other students who are tired of the masks. We are American people who are supposed to be free. We are not to be deprived of our rights by authoritarian elected officials of government. The unconstitutional, divisive, and ridiculous and hastily passed mask mandate is dangerous. It is a violation of our rights. As stated in the South Dakota Constitution Bill of Rights, all men are born equally free and independent and have certain inherent rights. Among those are to enjoy defending life and liberty and acquiring and protecting the property and pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Since we are not being heard and being forced into this mask mandate against our consent, I ask that it be removed. The mandate deprives us of our life and our liberty and our pursuit of happiness. It also divides people within their homes, people within the community, even in the school. Wise words from Jesus: every kingdom, town, house, or family divided against itself will fall. People who want to mask can do so, but those who, for reasons of their own choosing, whether it be mental, physical, psychological, or behavioral health, don't want to mask should equally have the right to their freedom. The masks are diminishing the will of our students to be happy and free. The mandate is ridiculous. COVID does not stop infecting people outside of the 7:30 to 3:30 time, and multiple studies and opinion of scientists, doctors, and other general public show that the efficacy of these masks is severely limited. So uphold your oath to our Constitution, follow the advice of the Lord Jesus Christ, and use common sense and remove the mandate. We should encourage people to understand their rights, have confidence to live them, and gain a willingness to pursue the protection of these rights. People's rights to free speech allow them to have their own sources in order to inform their conscience and then make decisions. We are all entitled to our right to look at and believe the research we want, and that right should be extended to those who choose not to mask. We, the people, will be united and will stand and ask that you now remove this mandate for our children. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? I don't know if Stacy wants to come back, but I just have a question about the petition itself. Was it circulated by you or multiple people, or how did that group of people?
The petition was circulated by multiple people, and it was done online. So you can see the online one, and then the ones that were circulated by multiple people were all the written ones.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Thank you, Jill. I am able to hear and was able to hear all of those speakers.
Kathy, can you say that again?
Thank you, Jill. I was able to hear all of those speakers and can hear the meeting going on now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we will review all these signatures, and I'd like to look through the petitions myself too. The next item.
Jill, excuse me, Dr. Sternquist, I'd like to make a comment before we move
Oh,
on.
go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing this forward. I will just say that there's just as many people on both sides of this issue, with our numbers being as high as they are. It's something that we will take into consideration moving forward.
Next, we have state testing with Mr. Mitzel.
Good evening. As I go through some of our state testing scores, I just want to lay out a little bit of a background. Due to COVID-19, we did not have testing scores in 2019, 2020. And then last year in 2020, 2021, our state had applied for a waiver, and I would say there was a varying degrees of testing throughout the state. So when we look at our numbers compared to our state numbers and national numbers, I would just take all those things with a grain of salt. And in addition, data reported on the 2021 report card should be interpreted, with some caution. Due to the pandemic, certain data may not be comparable to past years due to incomplete testing throughout the state. I thought that as a Yankton school district, we did very well of getting close to that 95% participation rate. I know that there were some students that were learning remote that maybe did not participate, but were given the opportunity to. And then in a normal year, they break out things with your school performance index for accountability factors. Those things were on a waiver last year through our Department of Education. So we will not see the SPI points on our report card for 2021. And what we would like to do is use our numbers from last year as a baseline of moving forward. knowing that there was a gap in years, and it's kind of hard to compare data when you have a year where students did not test, along with some breaks in their learning. So as you look at maybe the next slide where you see our YSD numbers compared to the state of South Dakota, you can see for grades 3 through 8 and 11, those are the grades that are tested. That's why those are listed. In English Language Arts, we had a 60% advanced and proficient compared to a state average of 53. And again, in math, we had a 50% advanced or proficient compared to a state average of 43%. Again, taking those numbers into consideration, that maybe parts of the state were entirely remote. Different schools had different protocols throughout the year. And if we go to the next slide, we see that student performance, which I just gave you those numbers, those things were listed, but there's no growth scores. And when you look at data, we're often looking at the growth that students make, and without testing the year before and a break in that, there are not growth scores that are represented in our school performance index. And if we go to the next slide, you can see the schools broke out by their ELA and math performance. Science will be reported, I think, in January of this year. And if we're looking at, our attendance rate, again, a 96% attendance rate. Last year when we were calculating attendance, those students that were on a quarantine or close contact, we were not counting their attendance against them or the school. And then we did line up the numbers between 18 and 19 and 20 and 21, realizing that there was a gap year, and you can see what those numbers are for each of the individual buildings. I'll let Mr. D talk, and then we're welcome to take some questions from you.
Thanks, Mr. Mitchell. A couple things as well that just, if you go back one slide there, Jason, just to highlight some of the areas with the high school. And one thing out there, we focus on the graduation rate as well. And I'm going to actually go back one more slide. The high schools broke up a little bit differently, where we have our student performance, our graduation rate, college and career readiness, and then our English language progress, and then as well as high school completion. So we're focusing, and that's the areas that we're breaking down. There are these numbers were reported, but there's some of the data there across the state were not complete, so it wasn't able to score an SPI, and the state didn't give a SPI score. So if you look there at our graduation rate, we're at a 97% rate there. We'll go to the next slide there, Jason. 97%. We're working with areas within both our ELA and our math, and then we'll go to the next slide. If you're looking at the college and career readiness calculation, the state assessment, level 3 or 4, so it's focusing on our seniors who did not test in the 1920 school year. So that's why there's some, in these red areas that we don't have some of that data of why that SPI score is not there. One thing that we have been really working with the state on, you'll see there the dual credit. This is a course that is completed in the state-sponsored dual credit program. Working with Mount Marty University, it's been a process. It's been about a 3-year process for the state to start accept Mount Marty University's credits for dual. That is going to be huge for our scores and our SPI scores that are going forward in the future. And then I want to focus there a little bit on the college math readiness. Those state assessments there that you see, we look at the ACTs as well. And then we have our career English and math readiness, which is our NCRC. Just to talk a little bit about that, our NCRC, our seniors just completed that test last week. We had a tremendous participation. one of the higher levels of participation across the state. And we've got some scores back. We're still working on getting them some others, but very, very, very pleased with our effort from our seniors. And a lot of times we used to do that in the spring, and we moved that up this year into the November timeline. We got great effort, and we have some very good scores where if you earn a silver or higher, you're classified as a college and career readiness. There's some bronze scores as well, but it goes platinum, gold, and silver. So we'll be sharing some more of those things out at a later time as well, but very, very pleased with that. And I'll go to the next slide, Jason. That kind of just was saying those things. With our ACT scores, we're still a point above the state average with our ACT scores, and we're consistent with our 18 to 19 school year. Our coursework readiness, that's what we're talking a little bit about with our dual credit courses. Our dual credit, once those things in, we will have a very high percentage, much above the state percentage. It's just been that year and that gap that we've been working with Mount Marty and offering those dual credits. So those percentages are we're going to see a significant increase there next year. Then you can see our assessment readiness with where we're at. Very, very pleased with those areas compared to the state, very high. And then the other thing there too is with college and career readiness. That goes in with that NCRC testing and so forth there. And with the results that we have, we're going to see in the numbers that we have doing that and really taking part and buying into that, we're going to see those percentages skyrocket as well. So as Mr. Mitchell said, we're really using last year kind of as a baseline, and we're going to springboard that. And we put things in place with our ARP plans and a lot of these programs that are helping across the district to keep improving our scores and looking at the data and making sure that we're showing growth for all of our students, pre-K through 12. Any questions?
A couple. Mr. Mitchell mentioned that last year's test scores may be taken with a grain of salt. Is that correct? Did I hear that properly?
Say that one more time.
Did you say that last year's test scores can be taken with a grain of salt?
Agreed.
So how can you use those scores as a baseline then?
Well, I think it's the data that we have moving forward. I would say that if you look at our last 2 years of school, one being a disrupted year and last year with different education models throughout the state, it is hard to compare, but we had our students in school for the entire year. So I think that sets up a baseline moving forward. This isn't what I would consider a normal year either, but having that data gives us a new starting point of moving forward when we're tracking growth.
Okay. Thank you. And Mr. D, this is probably not a fair question for you because you're relatively new to the high school, but as far as advanced placement scores, I see that you have to have to achieve a level of 3. We have very few students with dual credit taking the advanced placement test. Am I correct about that?
Correct.
So can we use that then as a marker then, being as probably a very low number of students taking it?
It's a low number. It still counts for us. And I think too, that's a goal that we have, is to continue recruiting and having more students take those advanced placement classes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Drachek, the coursework readiness and the college and career ready,
Say that again.
The coursework readiness and the college and career ready numbers on that last slide.
Yes.
You said that you're expecting those to go up with the new test that was taken. When do you expect those data to be implemented so we can kind of see those changes?
Next year when the report card comes out in October, or in September.
Oh, okay. So nothing that was taken this year?
Yeah, so it'll reflect, our students this year will reflect in our next year's report card.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have amended tax levy request. Mr. Beets?
Okay, you'll recall in the September school board meeting is the month that we adopted our budget and approved our levy requests. And at that time, as we've done for the last 5 years since the school funding formula was redone in 2016, the tax valuation growth data for capital outlay fund is not finalized at the Department of Revenue level until a couple of weeks into the month of October. So that data is now received, and the resolution that is before the board, all of the data is exactly the same as approved in the September school board meeting, with the exception of the capital outlay tax levy request, which is third line from the bottom in the resolution. So the amended request becomes $4,857,279 as permitted through the funding formula and including the growth as counted by the Department of Revenue and certified. So with that said, the recommendation is to approve the resolution in its entirety with the amended amount, and I will, as directed by the board, file the amended request tomorrow.
I'll make a motion to amend the tax levy request as printed in the agenda.
Second.
Do you have any discussion?
I
know.
seconded it.
I said discussion. You
I
got
seconded
second. I asked if there was a discussion.
Yeah.
No?
I seconded it.
I know. I
Okay.
asked if there was any discussion. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Crandall,
Yes.
Greenaway,
Yes.
Sternquist.
Yes. Next is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
A roll call.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Crandall,
Yes.
Greenaway,
Yes.
Sternquist.
Yes.